Hey guys, what's going on? It's Spot the Aussie here, aka the NRL Fantasy Fanatic, coming at you from round number 21 of the 26 round calendar. And what a week it was, because we absolutely blew them out of the water this week. We sustained our rank overall, 859 out of the 99,000 people out there, almost 100,000 fantasy coaches out there at the moment. We kept our rank in there by keeping a score of 5,000 in the 5,000th rank. 5,000th rank. There you go. Of a score of 875. It was a big week for us. Not a lot of trades. In fact, no trades. I think the thing that saved me above everything else was the simple fact that Cam Smith ended up playing, and he played bad. He got 37 for everyone out there at the moment, and it was a bit of an abysmal score. What I'll do is I'll just pop up the chat on the right-hand side of my monitor so I can start reading you guys out there. Hey everyone, how's things going? Really appreciate everyone touching base and watching it, and a couple of you guys shouting out and waiting for this live stream to kick off. And finally, we are underway, because this one is a big one. This is the one I've wanted to do for such a long time. It's the Daily Telegraph Supercoach versus NRL Fantasy. And one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do this video over all the other ones, not just focusing on fantasy, was simply because whenever you spoke to anyone about fantasy or Supercoach or stats in NRL, usually they would say, oh, do you play Supercoach or do you play fantasy? And you'd either play the same that they do, or you'd play the opposite, and then you'd usually agree that whatever one you're using is better than the one that they're not using. Am I right or am I right? As a fantasy coach, I think all fantasy coaches tell all the super coaches that we've got a better product, and as a super coach, I reckon all of them honestly would say that they have the better product and therefore would never move over. But it's the best time to talk about it now, because we're at the end of the season and we're only going to be moving into next season next year, which means everyone can decide if they actually want to move to either the Daily Telegraph or stick with the NRL, or vice versa. Now for me, one of the interesting things is when I was at work 2 or 3 years ago and I was playing fantasy, one of my other Parramatta fans that I was talking to said he loves to play Supercoach, and I was a bit taken away by that, and I said, the first thing I always ask is why? What's better than Supercoach over fantasy? Because more often than not, a fantasy coach doesn't know much about Supercoach, and a Supercoach doesn't know much about fantasy, but they just say that they're better than the other. So I asked him, what's better for our playability? What do you think is better? And he would say, Supercoach is obviously better. And when you say why, they just give some generic answer, like, the answer that I got at that time was, the prizes are better. We get way better prizes than NRL Fantasy. Here's the thing. When someone says to me that they love Supercoach over NRL Fantasy purely because of the prizes, that's telling me that you're coming either first, second, or third overall, or possibly up in that top tier bracket in order to score. Yet the person I was asking told me his rank in Supercoach was like 67,000th, and I'm like, you're not going to be winning anything if you're that far below. So what I decided to do was, I actually made a quick Excel table showing the two, and I put it down to 3 different things: prizes, format, and point scoring. Because at the end of the day, those are the things that divide fantasy to Supercoach, and that should be your essence of deciding whether you go one or the other. So without further ado, let me just get straight into it and start talking about the prizes. Now, the thing for me is that the NRL Fantasy advertises that they do a prize batch of 350 grand plus. That's a lot of money that they're giving out, a lot of prizes, or a bit of both, or bartering, or whatever you want to call it, or experiences, or gift cards. That is a significant amount of money more, and prizes more than the Supercoach. But when you actually look at the prizes that are on offer, you quickly find that Supercoach is the more appealing format than the other one. Let's have a bit of a close look right now. Here's our table that I've put together. I've used both their official websites to pull off the prizes. I haven't made this up. I've got them both from the official sources. So if you're going first in Supercoach, it's $50,000. Whereas in fantasy, it's $15,000. So already, if you're the top tier coach out there, if you're the king of all kings, you're naturally going to be much higher than the person playing the other format simply because they're playing the other format. Here's the thing. 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, back in 2014, NRL was actually What were they? They were sponsored by the Holden at the time and used to be given a car and there was a lot more prizes. Now it's dwindled. The NRL is actually absolutely held back on its fantasy and giving it prizes. For second place, there is $5,000, whereas fantasy has nothing. So if you come second, you get absolutely nothing. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You get nada. Third to 10th, you get $1,000, and that's why I've put $7,000 on there at the moment. So you get $1,000 if you come third to 10th, which is a pretty good offering. So all in up, it's $62,000 for the overall places, and being in the top 10 is more likely than just coming first. The other things is, the Supercoach also offers a weekly prize. If you come first, $1,000, second place $500, third place is $250, whereas fantasy don't do that. Last year they were doing that, they were actually giving away money for the highest scorer of the week. They don't do that anymore. In fact, what they've replaced it with is a thing called Origin Match Day, Test Match Day, and Finals Match Day. So for each Origin game, you get $750 for coming first and $250 for coming second. Given that there's 3 Origins, that's a total of $3,000, and for a Test Day, it's $750 for the winner, and for the Finals Match Day, it's $2,000 flat for the one person who gets all the Finals matches. Here's the thing for me though, right? I feel like those particular prizes takes away from playing fantasy as a coach, because you have to make an independent team on the side for Thursday match day or Origin match day and actually make your team as a second tier team. So it's not your classic team, it's not your main team that you're playing against other people. It's literally playing a separate team that you make for your Origin. You pick the players. You pick 6 players, 1 hooker, 1 front row, 1 second row, 1 half, 1 center, and 1 wing fullback. And there's not a lot of difference between one player and the next, or what all the other super coaches or all the other coaches out there are picking for their teams. So I think they're actually missing the mark there a lot, and I would probably prefer if they actually put those prizes back in the weekly. Here's the thing, because the super coach is a weekly prize, it actually equals up to $45,000, or just over $45,000 in total, just in weekly prizes. For us fantasy coaches doing the match days, it's only $6,000. So in total, the cash available out there is $171,000 for the Supercoach and only $35,000 for those who play fantasy. There's the other thing though, is that there's miscellaneous prizes at the moment. Miscellaneous prizes are things other than cash. For example, as the club champion, given that there's 16 clubs, whatever club you pick at the start of the year is the club that you go into, like a pool or a batch. You get $200 for your club as a voucher to spend at whatever store, like the NRL store for club gear. That's not too bad, but the other thing is, usually the club gear, like a jersey, is like $150, and they don't really do discounts there if you go to the NRL website. So here's the thing, really, you're buying one jersey from the actual NRL, and it didn't cost them that much in the first place. Here's the thing that they advertise more than anything, and it's really disappointing for me because, like I said, NRL Fantasy advertises $350,000. Where did they get this $350,000 if it's $35,000 in cash? It's because they give a Telstra Live Pass away. They advise that the market value for the Telstra Live Pass is $90, and what it is, it's an app on your phone. It goes with the NRL app, and it allows you to watch all the games live just from your phone. Now, you can't stream it onto your TV, you can't do anything else with it, you can just watch it live off the cuff. Here's the thing though, they give it to 3,500 coaches out there. They give it to the first 2,500 for creating a league, like creating a league of 16 teams, and you have to fill it up with other people. So it gets people pushing to make more people join NRL Fantasy in order to get that prize. Here's the thing though, as a Telstra customer, I get it for free. So my thing here is that if anything you're giving away for free, the market value is no longer the retail value, because most people out there, I'd love to know what the sales are for the Telstra Live Pass, or the NRL Live Pass I should say, would be $0, because I don't actually think many people would be spending that amount of money in order to get that accessibility. It's not that big of a deal. You can watch it at home on Foxtel, you can watch it down at the pub on Foxtel. So for me, I actually strongly believe that the $90 per per NRL pass is actually a bit overhyped. So they rate it that it's 3,500 coaches at $90, $315,000 worth of live NRL passes given to you guys for just creating a league. Here's the thing, you create a league, you get more people into your squad, but there's no prize for doing anything. So it actually takes all the money out of prizes that they're going to be winning, which absolutely sucks. So I'm not really a big fan out of there so much, you know what I mean? Because I just seem to think that it's a bit of an over prosperous way of trying to say marketing value, we're trying to give you more money than not. I'll just read some of the comments now. I don't know what you guys think about that in the chat box. Thanks so much for tuning in. I see a lot of people out there. Siege Gaming, Bethany Bloomberg, Jesse Kinley, Skilled Legend 24, Ryan McCullen, DJ Crazy, Nathan, Ryan H. Quite a few people in the chat right now checking out this live stream. So thank you so much for checking in. I'll get to your questions at the end. So if you can leave your questions out to the end. If you want to give me a shout out, be sure to give me a shout out, and I'll looking at that chat as we're live at the moment. Now, for me, Supercoach by far wins the prizes. So Supercoach is the greater one of the two. Let's move to the format. Now, there's not that big of a format difference between the two. Supercoach gets 40 trades, whereas NRL Fantasy gets 34 trades. And anyone who's gotten to this round, round 20 or round 21, would know right now that trades are dwindling. Most people only have 1, 2, or maybe no trades at all. Whereas Supercoach, that's not a problem for you guys out there, because you've got that extra 6 trades up your sleeve, which makes it a lot more easier. You think about it this way, if there's 26 rounds, you can make 1 trade a round without having that much of a piggyback on. You could make 2 trades. If you're making 2 trades in 26 rounds, it's 52. So you can get away with most rounds trading 2, if not 1 person. Whereas at the moment, I've only got 2 trades up my sleeve, and I haven't even traded every round, and I haven't traded for the last 2 rounds. So I think that makes it a lot more easier as a Supercoach player or a Supercoach coach, because you've got those extra trades up your sleeve, so there's not as much pressure in order to do it that way. The other thing is, the player value. Here's a weird thing, right? When the NRL Fantasy used to do this 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm glad it changed. So what would happen is at the start of the year, a player's value wouldn't change until after 3 rounds. So what this meant was that if you were buying a rookie at the start of the year for 130,000, if that was their base value, that rookie value wouldn't change until round 4, which meant if you made a mistake getting on top of that rookie or buying him in the first place, it's not that big of a deal because you can quickly trade him out. Whereas if you were bold and you bought a rookie in the first place for 130,000, you don't get any value out of it because anyone from round 2 and 3 can buy him at the same price. That to me makes it a lot more simpler and a lot more easier, and I don't like that. I like how it's a bit more complex. I like at the start of the year, when you're buying rookies, you're taking accountability and responsibility for the simple fact that you are getting an advantage by buying him at the start of the year when no one else did. So we saw that a lot this year with the centers, like Tauta Moga, Tyrell. I mean, there were heaps. There was heaps on heaps. Hayne even coming back. So there'd be no advantage to you buying him at the first round. So you could literally put as many guns as you want or as many mid-range players and just sell them to effectively get the rookie price in the first 3 rounds. And I don't like that. I don't like that approach either. The other thing is in the positions. If we look at a page right now, so this is what the positions look like in Supercoach. What you'll notice here, the biggest difference is down here. We've got wing and centers and then fullbacks by themselves. Whereas it's the opposite in fantasy. We've got centers and then we have a separate position called wing fullbacks. I actually prefer an in-between of those two. I would prefer if centers were themselves, if fullbacks were themselves, and if wingers were themselves. I think they should all be their own position and they shouldn't cross-reference into each other. I think for the simple fact that, let's have a look at this from an NRL fantasy perspective. I currently have 3 wing fullbacks. And guess what? They're all fullbacks, because fullbacks will generally outscore their winger counterparts. Jarryd, Hayne, Tuivasa-Sheck, Dylan Edwards, and Cody Walker, with the exception being Braden Burns, who I brought in as a rookie at the start of the year. So here's the thing here, right? Is that if you had one fullback and only could buy one fullback and possibly one substitute, and then you had to buy 2 wingers, I think the game becomes a lot more complex and it becomes a lot more difficult. Whereas the easy mode is just stack your wing fullbacks with fullbacks, unless it's someone on the side like a Rapana or Mansour, who were exceptions to this rule. The opposite can be said about the Supercoach, whereas at the moment, bringing it back in, you could stack wings or centers in either of those positions. I actually prefer, out of the two, I actually prefer this a lot more than the fullback position, because the score separation between centers and wingers isn't that big, because they'll get the same defensive stats, which is barely any. They'll get the same amount as ball touches, whereas fullbacks will get the ball generally more because they're more in the attacking lineup when there's a play coming up in the formation, or if there's a deep kick down the field, and they'll retrieve the ball and run as many meters as they can. So for me, I think Supercoach is the preferred method, but I still think there's a better way of doing it where it's an in-between and you've just got your centers or your wings or your fullbacks. All 3, in my opinion, should be separate. The other thing is, that's actually a really good point. Bethany Bloomfield says, what's next? Making lock its own position. I think the lock should stay in the second row. I think it's because generally second rowers will interchange with locks and locks will interchange with second rowers. It's a bit of a universal position because it's not like rugby union where if you've got a flanker on the second row and then you've got your middlemen. Generally those 3 are one and the same to some degree. I understand locks will play generally more in the middle, but that doesn't mean that they'll score better than the other second rowers, especially in the attacking formation, depending upon which lineup you're talking about. Ram H just said, yuck, wingers should not be separate because there will be barely any good wingers. That's the whole point, though. The whole point is that you can't stack fullbacks in that particular position just to cover all your wingers, because no one would run wingers, and we don't. How many people here actually run a winger in their setup at the moment in that position? Probably not many. Unless you're holding Jordan Rapana or Mansour, as we just said. It's just not happening at the moment. So overall, I think that fantasy of those 3 different formats is the beneficial. I think it's that much better. I think at the end of the day, the trades make it harder. The player value immediately changing and therefore giving an advantage to those who are a bit more bolder is much better as well. It also means, because the players are adjusting straight away, it also means that we have a lot more differences between the teams, because otherwise, if a rookie scored 60 points and should go up 20 grand, but doesn't, everyone's going to buy him. So when he does get his reevaluated player value, everyone will have it. That's just my thinking there. Everyone else is now jumping in. There's a couple of BJL6 montages. I actually watched one of your Clint Gunther montages recently. It was absolutely awesome. He says, easy coach, hashtag rookies don't even know what the big dogs are, like Reginald? Reginald. I'm not sure who that is, but unless he meant Renegade. I wish I had manners. Everyone's just talking about manners at the moment, and there's a couple of different ranks. Bethany says, with center wing, you can stack it all of second front rowers like I did. That's the other thing. I think the dual position should be improved. Like at the start of the year, no one should have dual position unless they actually receive dual position after playing in that spot for 3 or 4 games. I don't mind if it's 3 games or 4 games, just make it consistent. But at the start of the year, no one should have dual position. And the only way someone can earn dual position is by them playing in that other spot. It shouldn't be gifted to them at the start of the year, because most of the time what happens is a player goes into a spot or a position and they stay there if they're going to play there at the start of the year, because they've done all the preseason training and then they roll into that spot. I reckon they should just evaluate what positions they should be based on the training squads and their like last 10 games of the prior season in NRL. Cut all the dual positions until they actually get that mid-season. And that way, we'll see a lot more people having different players because they can't just stack, like, for example, a Josh McGuire could be a front row or second row. So there's going to be less people buying Josh McGuire at the start of the year. Less people buying Josh McGuire means more variety between the teams. I reckon that would be absolutely amazing. So what else do we have? Bethany says, best decision ever. She has Crichton in the centres. See, he shouldn't be a centre, but he is in Supercoach. I think there just needs to be a better way of doing it. Nathan just says, I've given up on fantasy this year, 0 trades, and I've been hit with multiple season-ending injuries. That's the thing for me, man, is that NRL fantasy has a bigger learning curve. The big thing here for me is that you'll learn from that, and next season, you won't be as aggressive with your trades. You'll have a couple up your sleeve, and you'll be fine. So, let's move along to our point scoring. Point scoring is the other big difference. So at the moment, what do we got? We got prizes, definitely Supercoach. I'll label that green. For fantasy, I'll label that blue. So we got 1 and 1. So point scoring is the other big change, or the other big difference between the two. Let's go from the top to the bottom. We have Supercoach on the left, fantasy on the right. For a try, 17 points. That's double what you get in fantasy. That means there's a lot more random people scoring much higher points in Supercoach. Just given the fact that a try gets you so many more points than anything else. It's super rewarding. I prefer something a little bit more solid where it's more based around tackles and base stats and then basing players on and evaluating players on their prior stats. Someone like Jarryd Hayne, 2 years ago, scoring 19 tries, getting the most tries in one season, is a bit of a fluke to a degree. Yes, he was a try-scoring machine, but at the end of the day, he's not going to do that next season. And that's what his price would be based on. So I don't like that so much. Try assist, 12 points. That's a lot more points than fantasy at 5. Last touch assist, 6 points versus 0. Look, NRL fantasy is exactly the same way. Last touch assist is pretty much the same as a try assist in our books. A goal is 4 points, where it's only 2 for us. I don't like the fact that goals are that much higher, but here's the thing. A missed goal is a negative towards whoever you've got. So you get negative 2 points if they missed. I think in NRL fantasy, there should be a penalty if you miss a goal. I don't mind if the goals go up to 4 points or if they stay at 2, but there should be a missed goal penalty. Whether it be negative 2 points or at least negative 1. That way, it's not just blindly rewarding anyone who's goal kicking. For example, a Cameron Smith kicks 70% or 75% or around that bracket. He gets so many more points because he's a hooker, but then he gets an additional cap above that simply because he's goal kicking. He should get points. He should get deducted points for every time he misses a goal. There should be a penalty included in that. Field goal is the same, 5 points, 5 points. I don't mind that. I think that's a good standard there. It's a bit random, but giving someone 5 points for kicking a field goal, yeah, that's not too bad. Missed field goal, negative 1 point. I reckon it should be negative 2. At the moment, it's 0 for NRL fantasy. Tackles is 1. It's both the same. A missed tackle is negative 1 against fantasy, which is negative 2. I don't know. I like the fact that negative 2 points for a missed tackle because it penalizes bad fantasy players in your team, and that's the way I think it should be run. But yeah, we've got a lot of people. I'm just reading the chat. Is there anyone else talking about that at the moment? I think nah, man. Ram-H, missed field goal. I think missing a field goal should be a deduction of points. I think there should be a penalty for every time that your player does something bad. You know what I mean? A tackle break is 2 points, where it's 3 points in fantasy. I don't mind that because I think tackle breaks are a big thing for any team. Like, that should be rewarded a little bit higher. Here's the thing, though. A tackle break should be a genuine tackle break. At the moment, for example, Jordan Rapana's running sideways across the field. He stops. Someone puts out his hand to grab his jersey, and he just pushes them away. That's 3 points. That shouldn't be 3 points. That's not a tackle break. A tackle break is when a guy's like at least halfway around you and you bust him off. Or Martin Tapau palming someone in the face like he did with Alex Johnson last year. That to me should be a tackle break. This whole, I put out my hand, or I try to ankle tap you. Actually, you know what? Ankle taps I think's okay as a tackle break, because if you're diving and you tap him on the ankle but he gets out of it, that's fine as well. Forced dropout / forced scrum. These points are more or less for the halves, the kickers in the team, like a Mitchell Moses putting through a grubber, someone else picking up the ball and then being forced in the in goal out of their 20, or to take the tackle in their, putting them in a position where they're in their goal and they can't leave, so they get tackled in the goal and therefore it's a forced dropout. I think, you know what, I actually think that's not a bad point structure, but I think it should only be 2 points for NRL fantasy, because that way it rewards halves, like the playmakers that actually do these little tricks and kicks and puts it through. Because as you can see, there's a lot of errors when kicking for touch, like they kick too far or they kick too big and it's out in the full or whatever it is. I think this way it rewards smart play, and that way as a half that does put through a grubber, you're not missing out on points. I think that should be rewarded to some extent. What do we got? We've got effective offload versus ineffective offload. So, an effective offload is 4 points, whereas an ineffective offload is 2 points. For us, it's for fantasy, it's a standard 2 points. It's a standard 2 points for anyone. That means if you're getting tackled and you throw the ball backwards, it's 2 points. Thank you so much to whoever that was that just subscribed on the screen. Grant Foyers, thank you very much for subscribing. I've got a live subscription box, so every time someone subscribes, it's just popping up. I need to get a better emoji and I need to get a better soundbite for that, but I'll work on that as it comes up. What else do we have? An effective offload for me is when you're actually in a tackle and you throw the ball. What's actually happening now is, if someone's in a tackle and they throw the ball back like a grenade and it lands in no man's field, that's still getting awarded 2 points in fantasy. Where I think that's where Supercoach is kind of like, we're making that 4 points and an ineffective offload is only 2. So, for example, Clint Gunther on the weekend got tackled and he threw the ball back to Semi Radradra. Semi Radradra caught that and made a line break. That's 4 points. Good. Whereas if you remember, who was it? Mitchell Pearce, when he was getting tackled, he threw the ball behind himself and it just bounced a couple of times and dribbled backwards. He got 2 points in fantasy when I don't think that's an offload. I don't think that should be awarded. That's just stupid. That's just like, you've lost meters for your team and you're getting awarded 2 points. That is absolutely ridiculous. What else do we have? We got line breaks, 10 points versus 4 points. Again, that's rewarding attacking players. Line breaks assist is 8 points versus our 2. We've got a 40-20. 10 points for kicking a 40-20. I don't mind that, because I think 40-20s are relatively rare and it takes a special type of skill and boot to actually do that, pick a spot, and to have that player awareness where everyone else in the field is. I wouldn't even mind if a 40-20 was worth 5 points, the same as a field goal. But I think it's too many points at Supercoach. 10 points. Ridiculous. Kick and regather break. 8 points. I guess that's like kicking to a fullback and then they break through the line. That's a lot of points for like doing that. I don't think that should be awarded 8 points. Now here's another difference that Fantasy and Supercoach have. You get 2 points for doing a hit-up and you get 8 meters or more. That's actually not a bad point scoring system. You only get 1 point if it's below 8 meters. So, generally speaking, the average amount of meters that are made. Thank you so much. It was that Hugh Buggy. Thank you so much for subscribing, dude. Really appreciate it. We get 2 points for 8 or more meters. Where it's under 8 meters, it's only 1 point. I don't know. That's actually pretty good, because it rewards people who are actually getting an advantage off the line or making a run worthwhile. Too many times do we see people running sideways 20 meters and then getting tackled, but then gaining like only 1 meter to the direction of the opposition's goalpost. That to me is just ridiculous. Like Luke Kelly, when he played for the Parramatta Eels, would run halfway across the field because he didn't want to take a tackle, then offload to the grass. Every time. every time. What do you have here? Ice Magdog says the chip and chase. There is no chip and chase point score in... oh, that's what he's talking about. A kick and regather break. A chip and chase. That's a good scenario where that could happen as well, I guess. But I don't think that should be awarded 8 points. That just seems ridiculous. Right, gotcha. Anyway, I think that's bewildering. Like, if you just... Like a Benji Marshall chip and chase or a Jarryd Hayne chip and chase. I think, to me, that's like a ridiculous amount of points. So, Pierce Miller just said a line break's 10 points. That's 28 points for a winger to get a cheap catch and a put down. Let's do the math. So, if a winger gets a ball where they're thrown all the way out like a massive 3-man cutout pass, they score a try, 17 points, then they run, 8 meters, that's 19 points. Line break is another 10 points because every time that person breaks the line, it's another 10 points. So they'd be on 29 points just for doing that. That seems ridiculous. 29 points. Like, some wingers don't even get 29 points in a single game, yet if one person gets a try, that's a ridiculous amount of points. It's actually a really good example. Who was worse, Kelly or Sandow? Kelly. Indefinitely, it was Luke Kelly. Big time. Thank you so much, Thomas Wells, for subscribing and just tuning in at the moment. Really appreciate it, dude. Where else are we? I just think the kick and regather is absolutely ridiculous. 8 points for a chip and chase. Like, can you imagine a fantasy player, like a player in the NRL, playing Supercoach and being like, man, I'm just going to make a quick chip and chase and get those 8 fantasy points for everyone that, like, has me on their team. Thanks so much. Ridiculous. That's terrible. Don't remind us about Luke Kelly's time with the Eels. Dude, he was woeful. I can't believe that we kept hanging on to him for so long. But anyway, what are we saying? NZ for Life 21 says, if Cronk does decide to join Sharks next year, Maloney will join the Rabbitohs next year. You heard it here first, people. Well, I don't know about that, but maybe. I can't see Cronk going to the Sharks, and I can't see Maloney in a Rabbitohs jersey. That would be pretty weird. Jake Thomas says he's been smashed with injuries. It's the new Simona, guys. Okay, hit-up rule is terrific. It rewards strong carries. I think so too. I think that's the best scoring way of doing hit-ups. Like, as I just described in so many different ways, you should make 10 meters every run. Like, you should be making 10 meters every run. If you have 6 tackles and 5 of those are hit-ups, you're making 50 meters on the field. That's a good set. That's a good set of 6, like pushing out and battling through the ranks or the lines there. So I think that's a really good way of doing it. Whereas we have total meters gain is divided by 10 meters. I'm not a big fan of that. I really actually prefer the Supercoach way of doing that point system. That's pretty good. Yes, Thomas Walls, it is a Brisbane Bandits hat indeed. In fact, I've got a Canberra Cavalry one in my just over the side. Now, kick meters. You get 0 meters for kick meters, 0 points for kick meters in Supercoach. However, the total amount of kick meters divided by 20 gets you 1 point. And what you'll generally find is that each team has one devoted long distance kicker. Like every time it goes to the 4th or 5th tackle, they'll be thrown to Corey Norman in the Parramatta Eels and he'll kick along and he'll get the kick meters. He'll generally get it between 300 to 400 kick meters in a game. If it's 400 meters, it's an extra 20 points. But that's pretty rare that he'll get 400 meters. It's something more like 300. I think that's a good system. I think the halves should be rewarded for their kick meters. I don't mind that at all. Because what that means is when you're picking your coaches or picking your players, you can purposely pick a player based on the fact that there's a variable amount of kick meters that they'll generally attain over someone who doesn't. And that's why I picked Corey Norman at the start of the season when I made my fantasy video or when I made my fantasy team, simply because Corey Norman's the only guy that's going to be kicking in that team. Clint Gunther was playing at halfback, which meant Norman was going to be the only kicker. He'd get, 200 meters, an extra 10 points up his sleeve just for doing his role. And a lot of people had taken notice of that and jumped on. So I think that should be rewarded. I think kick meters should be a part of it. Try saves is 5 points. I think try saves is absolutely amazing, and I'm glad they brought it in 2 seasons ago. I think try saves the interpretation of try saves should be 100% a lot more defined, because at the moment, what the hell is a try save? A try save by the NRL stats is when a player, you're on your defending line and a player goes over and you're holding him up. Jarryd Hayne is notorious for that. Jarryd Hayne will have more try saves. If you actually go to YouTube and type Jarryd Hayne try saves, there's like a top 10 try saves by Jarryd Hayne. It's a thing that he does. He's just absolutely amazing. I think try saves should be rewarded because it just promotes solid defense. It promotes those players that are making a difference for their team. So I think that should be a worthwhile stat. However, I think try saves should be a lot more broader. Like, I'll give you an example. On the weekend, James Tedesco made a break. He got an offload from Aaron Woods, and then he made a break all the way and scored a try. Now, here's the thing. If he made a break through the entire team, and Clint Gunther ran all the way over from the other side and tackled him with like 10 meters to go, that to me should be a try save, because you are effectively the last man in the line, or you've made your way all the way back there, whether it be a winger from across the field or whoever it is, and you've effectively scored a shoe-in try. Like, that should be a try. Even if it's at the 50-meter mark, and someone makes a line break, and there's no one defending, and a second rower runs all the way back 20 meters and tackles someone 20 meters out. That, to me, is a try save. If you tackle someone out, and they've made a line break, and they're like 30 meters away, and someone's come across the field and tackled him out of the field of play, that, to me, should be rewarded as a try save. Big time. Big time. So what else do we have in the comments? Hayden Bailey just says, I don't know, Cronk, in my opinion, will go to the Waratahs Rugby Union. He played a lot of schoolboy rugby and represented first teams in private schools as a 5'8". This is my opinion. Otherwise, retire. I don't know. I think he'll be on a pretty good wicket if he goes to Fox. I think that's the plan. Skill Legend 24 says, is it just me, or is that every player? Is that every player para play is bad, turn out good for the next team? Yes, 100%. Every time a player goes, even through the feeder club there at Parramatta, and we don't treat, I don't know if they get treated correctly, they just go to another team and they're absolutely God mode. We have this big thing where every player that goes from Parramatta to Manly, they become like 2 times their ability. Like Chase Blair was at Parramatta. Paul Gallen started at Parramatta. Like, can you imagine Paul Gallen playing for Parramatta? I can't, but he used to be there, right? So many players went through the Parramatta ranks and just... But in saying that, a team like the Roosters develops like nobody, and they just buy everyone out. Alright, here we go. What's your rank in NRL Fantasy Lounge Warp Speed League? That's another cool thing that the NRL Fantasy Lounge are doing right now. They've got the last 6 rounds and they're doing like a knockout. It's not what your rank is, it's just you're knocking other people out at the moment. I won my first round. I don't know who I'm playing second round, but I'll beat them. You're damn straight I will beat them. So, last but not least, the point scoring. You get a point for a kick defuse. This is like every time someone gets the ball, like a winger, and it's a bomb, and they're competing for a ball, and they catch the ball defensively off their like try line, they get an extra point. That's good. I think that's really good, because it just rewards wing fullbacks a bit more than what they usually would get. Giving them that extra point is not too bad. Where they shouldn't be giving that point is if there's a long distance bomb down the field and they catch the ball. How's that a kick defuse? A kick catch, maybe. Nathan says, should an intercept be counted as a stat? That's not a bad... Maybe 2 points? A one-on-one strip? A one-on-one strip should be like 3 points. It's very rare, but we've seen some pretty good one-on-one strips. I particularly remember the Bulldogs player, I can't remember who it was, like 6 years ago, stripping someone one-on-one when they kicked it to their fullback, and he ran up and he just stole the ball straight off him and put it down. It was absolutely amazing. NZ for Life says, great work. We can't let Adrian Butters win his own comp. You're damn straight. I don't even know if Butters is watching this video, but Butters, if you are watching it, be sure to leave a comment down below. Steezy says, Maloney went through the para system as well. Pierce Miller says, instead of a try save, it should be noted down as a big play. Could also cover a cutout pass to the center who does a cheap pass to the winger. I don't know how they would do that, though. I don't know how they could consistently do that. That's the other big thing is they need to make sure that whatever points they've got or whatever scoring techniques, it needs to have a consistent understanding. Like, do you remember 4 years ago when they had the shepherd rule and no one knew what the hell was going on? In every second play, a shepherd was getting pulled up. Ram H says, I'm not going to repeat that, Ram H, but we'll let it go on. Lockie Smith says, thoughts on the Daily M? You know what? I don't know. I actually have not been looking at it. Let's have a quick look at... Is there an update? Can anyone link me an update to where everyone is at the moment? Usually they cut it off by now, right? They stop it so you can't just keep watching it. There should be like a... Alright. This was Daily M leaderboard following round 14. Cameron Smith 20, Mitchell Pearce 15, RTS 15, Gallen 14, Vaughan 14, Slater 13, Gutho 13. Mate, Clint Gutherson would have to be up there. But now that he's injured, yeah, that's not going to happen. Corey Norman was on 10, Burgess on 11. Luke Keary was on 11. Huh. I don't know. I'm surprised Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is on 15 by round 14. Braden Burns to win Daily M? Get him out of here. Are you kidding me? Jesus. Dwight just said, where's the trains? I've actually moved my desk around in the study so my partner could fit her desk, and I'll do a video on that maybe tomorrow because she's actually done a really cool Marvel desk for her desk. But behind me is actually a cardboard cutout. I've got a cardboard cutout behind me because I want to green screen. What I'm trying to do here is, if I grab something that's green... Alright. So, check this out. In my hand... Oh, I've actually turned off the filter, but I'll turn it on right now while we're watching. Where is it? Green screen, chroma key. Okay. Okay. This is, as you just saw, a poster that's green. My plan is I want to put it all along the wall so behind me I can have a see-through screen. I can make myself bigger and it actually looks a little bit more professional. Here's the thing though, my partner doesn't want me to stick it straight up on the wall because it will mark the wall if you put sticky tape on the wall. It ruins the wall. It's a new wall, new paint, don't want to ruin it. So what I did was I dumpster dived. I literally dumpster dive, and I've been finding pieces of cardboard that I'm trying to get so I can put this on it and roll it down. But I can't find a piece big enough that will go all the way through. Dude, I've literally gone through so many dumpsters looking for a piece that I can literally lay this all the way across and that way have a see-through background. It's so difficult. There are green screens that you can buy, but they're like $80. If you eBay green screen, they're expensive. They're not cheap. So, I don't know. Hopefully, if I get it like, I don't know, enough views on this video, maybe I can eventually buy one. Maybe a couple of donations out there. I'll do a donation goal at the top of my video, like donations to $50 and try to get to like $50, and that way I can do it that way. But I don't know. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Could be anything. I dumpster dive like a boss. Honestly. Hey, TP Montages, how are you, man? Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I know. Green screen, I'm going to put myself in the bottom left. That way when I do my gameplay videos, you can actually see what the hell is going on behind me. But it's a big project. I can buy cardboard at Officeworks. I know, but it's just I can't stick it up anywhere. I need to get a flat piece of cardboard. So the next week, if you see a guy in a Parramatta Eels jersey going through rubbish, it's not your homeless guy down the street from Church Street Mall in Parramatta. It's actually me. It's me jumping through the garbage. That's what's happening. What do you reckon? Matt Duffy, amazing. Looks like he's got the fullback position permanently. I was asked just before what's happened with Josh Dugan. Josh Dugan is going to the centres because I guess Mary has finally realised that Duffy needed a run. I've been waiting 2 years to see Matt Duffy have an actual run, and he did not disappoint. I just reckon that the St. George Dragons are going to like manage him into the ground and use him incorrectly, and then end up not playing him the way he should be being played, or not giving him enough game time, or ruining something, or just not getting it down properly. What's my thoughts on the Gutherson injury? Best player for Parramatta this year. Brad Takarangi said in one of his interviews recently that Gutherson's not super fast, but he can keep that same speed the whole duration of a game. Like, he can keep the fifth gear going the whole way. And that's the thing about him. He's an 80-minute player, whereas Parramatta is not an 80-minute team. So to have someone like him always behind the line, backing it up, coming through, cutting out balls, dropouts, whatever it is, doing the job that needs to be done for Parramatta, Parramatta's going to be in a bad spot. Like, Bevan French is good, but Bevan French is not Clint Gutherson. And I think Clint Gutherson surprised a lot of people this season by playing out of his skin. Last year, he was on the wing, and he was a bit, hey, how you going? Wasn't that great. He got moved around a little bit, pending injuries, but he looked absolutely amazing. He was a great buy for us. Here's the thing, right? Yeah, he did leave Manly. Here's the thing for Gutherson. So many times have we seen players come back with ACL injuries and they haven't been themselves. Like, to recover from an ACL, I understand there's different levels of having an ACL injury, but how many times have you seen someone come back in any professional sport in the last 10 years and been able to play to that nth degree that they were prior to it? It's very hard to strengthen up that particular area of the body again. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. Anyway, that's pretty much my wrap-up of NRL Fantasy versus Supercoach. I'm not going to wrap up the video just yet. I will go through my team and a couple of trades and a couple of questions. I'll go through all the questions you guys are asking. RemH says, what are green screens? Green screens... See this? This is a bit of cardboard. It's green at the moment. It's green paper. It's just cardboard cut out of green. If I put it behind me, and if I have it up on the wall behind me, everything will be behind me will be see-through. So you'll just see my chair and outline. So it's pretty much a way that the camera uses an effect in order to cut out the image behind me. So it's actually really cool. Looks really professional. Don't know. We'll see what happens there. Daily M, Mark Nichols. Nope. I don't think so at all, but we'll see how we go there. But the Gutherson, going back to the ACL injuries, I don't know. I'd love to see him back next season. I think it's going to be difficult. I think it's really going to be difficult. I mean, look at NBA's a couple of years ago. Who was the man playing for Chicago Bulls? Oh, he's on the tip of my tongue. He was the man. I'd have to look him up. MVP, Chicago Bulls. He came back from an injury, ACL. Wasn't the same again. Derek Rose. How did I forget that name? Because he's gone. He's been traded out. Sorry, my apologies. But I'm going to have a hard time envisaging Gutherson coming back and being immediately like himself. It's such a hard injury to come out. I don't think Para's going to miss the 8. I think we're in a comfortable spot where we're going to keep scoring well. I think Manly's in a bit of trouble. Manly have a tough run to the end, and they seem to be on the flop. So I think we're going to find that Manly's a bit out. In fact, let's do a quick look at Manly's team list this week, because I actually watched this earlier. The team list live, I don't know, it's terrible. I don't know what you guys... If you guys have ever watched the team list live with their team, it's terrible. It's terrible. Someone asked me the other day, like, I listened to Lone Scout and took his advice, and unfortunately, what had happened was I'm ranked 30th thousand. Lone Scout and all of them aren't transparent. You need people to be able to show you their team to verify the trades that they've made. Wow. NZ just donated. Pierce Miller just donated 10 NZ dollars. Thank you so much for donating to the chat, man. Really appreciate it, dude. I'm not sure what your message was. Let me have a look for it quickly so I don't miss it. It was somewhere up here. I think it's just gone off the screen. Buy some clips to hang up on your cardboard, you bum. I think I will. I think that's my plan. But here's the thing, right? I actually need to get a tall enough cardboard piece. This cardboard piece is huge. I don't know if you can see it, but it's big. It is big time. It wraps around the corner. Like, it's like a cubby house in here. I don't know. It's like a house. I'm pretty much going to sleep here tonight. I'm not moving from this chair. Thanks so much for the donation, dude. Really, really appreciate it. Let's get back on topic. Where was I? We're going to have a look at the NRL Manly team at the moment. So, let's go to the Manly Seagulls team. I think most of the teams returned. It looks like they have. I think they're going to be fine. Sean Lane's playing out of his skin. Darcy Lussick's been named the extended bench. He's going to be dropped for sure. Lloyd Parrott's not too bad. Cameron Cullen doesn't really do much for me. Lewis Brown. How many people... A couple of videos ago I said do not buy Lewis Brown, and how many people jumped up and jumped down and bought him and said I need him as a cash out. You could have waited one extra week in order to get him as a cash out, and then he didn't end up playing. Now, because he's playing at the 16th man, he screws your auto emergency. That means if you don't have one of your players playing, you're going to score whatever he scores. He scores like 3 points a game. It's terrible. It's terrible. I actually don't know what the conversion of Australian dollars to New Zealand currency is. I think it's like dollar for dollar. I think BL6 Montage just said it's actually $9.50. You know what's weird? I going to a school canteen, because I went to an all-boys football school. I'm not a football player by any means. I was a chess player. Go figure. Fantasy. Hello. Played rugby union for one season. Broke a collarbone. But I'd always go up, and even when I worked in like school canteens, the Islander kids would always try to give you like their currency, like there'd be like a 10-cent piece with like this face mask that had its tongue out. I don't know. That was the thing. Sean Lane was terrible against the Dragons, but I think that was a one-off game. I did not board the Lane train, but I think the Lane train is actually pretty solid. Don't judge the man for one bad game. I think he's actually a really, really good player. What else we got? Chris Kennedy. Who is Chris Kennedy? I think Chris Kennedy is the Lone Scout. Isn't it the same person? Am I wrong? Like, I know it's not public knowledge, but I'm just guessing here because Chris Kennedy is the guy that's always posting like his face on the NRL videos. Is that not Lone Scout? Does anyone know that? William Jordan said, I gave up after the list actually came out. So he's not happy with Team List Tuesday. It is Team List Tuesday. Sean Livingston in the NBA tore his ACL, MCL, PLC and broke his tibia a few years ago and now plays for the Warriors. What, the New Zealand Warriors? Because they can't tackle for Here we go. Oh, opinions on Bevan French as a winger or fullback? I don't know. I don't think he's that much of a fullback. I think he's a great winger because of his speed and his diversity. He's got a good step on him. He's nimble. He's quick. That's probably about it. Hey Fletch, how are you, man? Thanks for tuning in. What do we do with Curtis Scott? Look, honestly, I'm holding him. The guy has one bad game, scores 16, everyone wants to like go absolutely ape shit and get rid of him straight away. I think that's a bad call. Chris Kennedy is MK Merchants. No, Dom Brock is Lone Scout. Well, that actually clears a lot of things up. Okay, well that's good to know. So it's not the same person. So you're telling me that the NRL website pays about 3 to 4 different people to do their stats for them. Is that what's happening right now? Have a look. Dom Brock. I just typed Dom Brock into Google Images and I can't see anyone. Oh. This guy. Is it? I don't even know who that guy is. What will I be doing with my 2 trades? Well, my headphones are now caught up. Did I go to a sports school? Yes, I did. Should I get Munster or DCE? I prefer Munster because he's dual position player. He's like wing, fullback, and half. So if you've got someone like Cody Walker, you can trade him in and out. You can substitute them back and forth. If one gets injured, you just substitute the other one, put him on the bench. My biggest disappointment this week was not playing Connor Watson. Connor Watson was the highest scoring hooker and half, got 69. Meant jack shit for me because at the end of the day, I didn't put the reserve on him. Didn't think he was going to go that big as a fullback, but he did. There you go. What is Super Chat? Super Chat is the YouTube way of donating. It's pretty much you hit the S button or the Super Chat button and you pick how much you want to donate, you pay it, and then it pops up as a message and it highlights not only on the chat window, but also in the chat box as well. That's why when... who was it? Pierce Miller actually donated his money. It actually came up with that yellow border in the chat, and it also comes up on the screen as well. So that's what Super Chat does, and that's what Super Chat is. So it's pretty much like a way of donating towards the person making the videos. Lewis Brown will get the Daily M. No, that's terrible. Ramh says, how do I donate? There's two ways. There's literally two ways. There's the Super Chat way, which is just the S underneath the chat. And also, if you go down in the description of the video, there's a thing called donation. If you donate through there, it will actually pop up on the chat as well. But that's going to be paying through PayPal without having to go through Super Chat. That's actually a better way because it goes directly into the account, whereas YouTube holds the money until like X amount of days or whatever. But it doesn't matter. Even if you don't, I'm not actually begging for donations at all, but I appreciate anyone who does. What else is there? Do you even need cardboard? Confused. I need cardboard because I can't mark the wall, right? I can't put anything on the wall. If you put masking tape, it marks the wall. If you put sticky tape, if you put blue tape, it marks the wall. That's why. So I'm trying to find a big enough cardboard cutout that will sit there and that I can just stick stuff onto it as a green screen. Do you know what I mean? Where are we? I'm trying to catch up with the chat. This is big time. This is big time. Bethany Bloomfield says, boo. Hoffman should go fullback and French to wing, says Steezy. I agree, 110%. That would be absolutely amazing. That would be great. I think that's what they should be doing. Where were we? Where'd the chat just go? I just flicked it over to the other screen. And a couple of more questions, guys. Okay, with my trades, Curtis Scott, going back to that, I've only got 2 trades. My 2 trades are going to be used to update or upgrade Cameron King to Cameron Smith. I need them to play 1 more game each. Cameron King is a break-even of 5. Even if he gets 20, it's going to be an extra 10k. That puts him up to 203, or just let's say 200 to keep it simple. Whereas Cameron Smith, 563,000. I need how much money? I need an extra 10k. So if Cameron Smith plays this week, I do not think he's going to get 76. In fact, I think Slade Griffin might take his spot last minute. So really feel bad for you guys out there that have him. I will pull him in the following week if he does play and goes down in value, because I just need a little bit more money. But I could downtrade Curtis Scott. The only problem with downtrading Curtis Scott is that the minute I trade him out, I lose that second trade. So if, for example, Martin Tapau got injured, I couldn't trade Martin Tapau. If Jack de Belin got injured, I couldn't trade him, and I'd want to trade him to like a Mannering. So that's why I'm really holding on to my trades. Don't make sideways trades. Just hold on to him. No need to cash out Curtis Scott, sorry. Wait for it, and then boom. That's what I'm going to do. Where are we? What's the next shot? Just look at his face in fantasy. Okay, done that. Bevan French should be a half, maybe. I don't think we're going to do that because the Eels now have Moses and Norman. Yeah. Where we going? Are the big numbers like how they played last round? Yeah, that's correct, Fletch. The numbers there are what they got last round for me. So I captained Angus Crichton, and that's probably who I'm not going to captain this week. I'm actually going to captain Paul Vaughan. I'll go into my team in just a second. Let's have a quick look at these. Let's have a look at my team for this week, actually. Cameron McInnes, solid. Paul Vaughan I'm going to captain because he's up against the Knights, and the Knights have a very bad defensive record. They've got the 3rd most missed tackles of any team in the league at the moment, so hopefully Paul Vaughan can get over for a quick try. I think we'll see that he'll play a really big game for the team. I've got Martin Tapau, Nathan Brown, Crichton, de Belin, Tomalolo, Gallen, Sam Burgess. I don't know if he's going to play or not. He's got a rib injury. I wouldn't be playing if I had a rib injury. That would hurt like hell. Watson, Cleary, Munster, Travojevic, Scott, Tuivasa-Sheck, Edwards, and Walker. I'm actually going to play Walker over Hayne. And I'm going to play Scott over Tyrell and Joey. Tyrell's been named in the centres. That's not good. He'll play 80 minutes, but he won't score as well. So I think that's going to be very, very bad for him. He hosts the fantasy podcast. Fair enough. Ramh says, did I go to Westfields? Don't you miss his 70 or 80 point game versus the Tigers? Rip. I don't have a choice. I'd love to pick him up. Is Elijah Taylor a pickup? Says Owen Shaw. I think yes, but don't make it sideways. If it's an upgrade from someone else, definitely. But I wouldn't go out of your way to grab him. Ryan McCullen says, bring back the train station. Don't worry, the green screen will look better than the train station. When I put up the green screen, I can actually put myself sitting at a train station. How does that sound? That will be even better. Hashtag bring back the train station. Good hashtag, by the way. Where are they? They think bra hangers. There are hangers that don't mark the wall. It's like every second ad on TV. Can you link me? Because I don't know. I'd have to convince my partner that would be a good idea as well, and that I won't mark the wall. I was speaking to someone who does home renovations, and like everything marks the wall. I don't know. All right. Outback Pine says, why don't you get a clothesline rack or something that's high enough to cover the... I would, but the problem is I'm right against the wall. I'm literally right back against the wall. So I don't have much room to play with, and I can't move my desk any forward because there's another desk behind it where my partner sits. Don't Captain Vaughan, you're risking your rank, mate. You got to risk it for the biscuit. I'm literally risking it for the biscuit. I'll be fine. We'll get it. Brownie is a gun. Definitely agree. Guys, I think that's pretty much our wrap up for the video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. This has been the NRL Fantasy Fanatic. Who was my buy of the year? Angus Crichton. I bought him at round 5 or round 6. In fact, I made a fantasy video back at round 6. I said Angus Crichton is a must-have. And people were like, nah. I mean, look at him. He's only got 15% of owners right now. And he's been an absolute scoring machine. His average is what? His average is 61. And when you've got a pod scoring that much... is absolutely amazing. He's been a solid captain. However, when I first bought him, which was around this round 5, I captained him that game. Oh, no, it wasn't that game. It was one of these games. I think I captained him around this mark. And then he ended up getting like 29. I was like, what the hell is going on? It absolutely screwed me. Who do we trade for Gutherson? Travojevic. And then move Travojevic into the centres. Daily M is not going to be Kane Elgey. Command hooks... Okay, command hooks were a thing I was looking at, and everyone was like, no way. Outback Pies, you only just joined. Unfortunately, mate, I'm going to have to wrap up this video. It's actually been just over an hour. You can always rewind it and then do it up again. Nathan says, give us a house tour. I will give you a tour in another video, I reckon. I don't even know how I'm going to do it because it's on a webcam, but we'll work something else, something out for doing that. When's the end of year fantasy piss up? Round 26. If I win the $15,000... you're all invited. How does that sound? Bethany says, Nathan says, Crichton replied to my Snapchat. Bloomfield says, I've already got Turbo? I don't know. I think you've missed the boat on Dylan Edwards, and he's only going to go down in value now. Munster would be my other choice. Depends what your team is like as well. Depends what your team is like. Sent me a pic of him with George Burgess. I actually have a photo of me and George Burgess when I went to a Christmas party. I'll quickly look for it, and then I'll wrap up this video. How does that sound, guys? Ask any last questions for me, because I'm about to wrap this video up. I'm going to have to scroll. I've got a lot of Facebook photos. You know when you don't really take a lot of photos and put them on Facebook, but your partner does, and she puts a lot of them up? That's pretty much my life. They're just everywhere. There's photos of me everywhere. Okay, where is he? I don't have it here. I don't have a photo of me and George Burgess, but I do have a photo of me at a wedding. This is me at a wedding. Well, interrupting someone's ceremony. What happened was we were dressed as Power Rangers for our end of year bash. It was like a dress up. The theme was like wood elves and dwarfs, and we were like, screw that. We're just gonna go straight up with Power Rangers. And we look good doing it. That's me in the green suit. That guy in the blue was the Blue Ranger. We got the White Ranger who bought his suit that was just a touch too small, so he couldn't fit his man bun in the back, which sucked for him. But what happened was, we're walking through Hyde Park and we saw a couple getting married, and we were like, do you guys want to get some photos with us? So we got some photos with them, and then we went around and pretended we were fighting, because they said, we want to film you guys fighting around them while they kiss, and we did. The wife absolutely hated it. The guy, the man, absolutely loved it. He was like, this is absolutely amazing. This is great. The wife absolutely hated it. She had no idea. I think there's more photos. Let me just have a quick look. There should be at least 2 more. I'll post more up next time. I don't know if anyone wants to... Oh, there it is. There's the photo. There's George Burgess and us. We're at some random bar in, like, the Cross, and he was taking a piss, and I was like, dude, you're George Burgess. And he's like... no, it's me, Tom. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, no, it's George. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Can we get a photo? And he's like, yeah, no dramas. So that's me, George Burgess, and Blue Ranger. Anyway, let's wrap it up there. and call it a good sesh. Is there any other questions? Will you do another stream tonight or not? I won't do another stream tonight. My voice cords are absolutely killing me. I know you guys love when I play video games as well. I do as well. I love playing PUBG and I love playing with you guys. On that note, who else we got? 2017 Grand Final this year. I think Melbourne are hard to beat. And I think the Panthers, if the Panthers can make the 8, even though I'm not a Panthers fan, I think the Panthers will make the grand final if Matt Moylan doesn't play. All right, let's go with that, yo. I will go check out the NRL Facebook cover video. I put it together. I will. In fact, you know what? If I can't stream copyrighted content, like if it's got background music, I got screwed last night when I did it and I played someone's song in the background and it absolutely got a copyright strike. I got 1 strike against my name. If I get 2 more, I'm out for good. Anyway, guys, dislike, jump a bridge, please. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button down below, if you're not subscribed, also if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up button down below, I'd really appreciate it. Every subscription really helps my videos more than you can imagine, and it really supports me in trying to build up my page and get things like this green screen going. Thank you so much to Pierce Miller for the donation. Really appreciate the NZ currency, which I think is going to be a great addition to me being able to get this green screen up. I'll show you guys how that looks next week, hopefully, and we'll give it a wrap. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Let me find the button that's going to switch this stream off first, because it's getting a little bit awkward. I'm saying goodbye over 100 times. I'm just stalling while I'm getting to that button. But thanks so much for tuning in. I think I've got an extra like 7 subscriptions as a result of streaming right now. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And this is officially my last go off. This has been the NRL Fantasy Fanatic. Be sure to check out next week's video. It's going to be Tuesday, 7 or 8 p.m. I will let you know prior to the video actually coming out, and we'll go from there. This has been Spot the Aussie, and I'll see you guys shortly.